चैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितमेन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्ता कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नित्यानंद अवधूतेन्दुर वसुध प्राणवल्लभ जानव जीवित पति कृष्ण प्रेम प्रद प्रभु पद्मावती सुत श्रीमान सचिनंदन पूर्वज भावोन्मत्त जगत्राथा रक्तगौरकलेवरः नमो नमो अनिरुद्धाय ऋषिकेश इन्द्रियात्मने नमः परमहंसाय पूर्णाय निवृत्तात्मने स्वर्गापवर्गद्वाराय नित्यं शुचिसदे नमः नमः हिरण्यवीर्याय चातुर्होत्राय तान्तवे So we are in verse 31, right? Did we complete 31? Because I somehow feel that we spoke and we addressed because we speak on several verses each day. So where did we stop? 30th verse. Okay. So again, we are at the very end of the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is about Karma Yoga, which is activities performed in this world for the upkeep of this body while keeping Krishna in the center. So these are activities that we choose to do. In other words, we have situated ourselves in one situation, in an ashram, in a certain varna. We are married, we are single, and we have taken up a certain profession. Based on all these circumstances, then the challenge becomes as to how do we keep Krishna in the center at all times, because without keeping Krishna in the center, the same activity that we perform of eating and sleeping, and depending on the social order, mating and defending, these activities are non-different from those who are not attached or connected to devotional service. Right? We may be devotees externally, we may be a part of a sangha, we may be making attempts to align ourselves with devotional service and with being able to perform some service and be able to serve Lord Chaitanya. However, the less and less we keep Krishna in the center while engaging in activities of this world, in the upkeep of this body, eating and sleeping and mating and defending, then we are leading a mundane life. This would add to our reactions. It is almost like an elephant having a bath. The elephant enters into the water, has a wonderful bath, and then it steps out, takes a lot of mud, and it throws it upon itself. So in a similar fashion, we chant in the morning, we engage in sadhana, but then during the day, our focus and our desires are not centered around Krishna. They are independent of Krishna, and as a result of which, what manifests are reactions which are stumbling blocks on the path of bhakti. They're nothing but stumbling blocks on the path of bhakti. Right. So we desire independently. We desire a certain facet of our profession. I want to be able to do this in my professional life. But then have we accounted for being Krishna-centered? Have we accounted for that particular decision to assist us in being Krishna-centered? Or is that decision independent of becoming Krishna-centered? Is that decision taken with the mood that, yes, a profession is being taken as a standalone aspect, or any other aspect of our existence is taken on as a standalone aspect? We take decisions. So that is the specific challenge which is being addressed in this chapter. And the reason why I keep repeating the same message of being Krishna-centered is because it is difficult. It is difficult unless you train yourself. It is difficult unless you learn to appreciate what has already been given. It is difficult if we do not have gratitude for what has been given. Right? Why do we even jeopardize our devotional service? We receive so many instructions in the matter of devotional service. Why do we jeopardize devotional service? Why is it that we deviate so much? Because Krishna addresses it in the next few verses. Arjuna asked this question. Why is it that we deviate so much even after hearing so many instructions on the aspect of devotional service, on the importance of devotional service? We do so because we have independent desires. We do so because for millions of births, we have only thought about ourselves, and that impression, that consciousness is just continuing. Even though we are a part of a devotee community, we take independent decisions without keeping Guru and Krishna in the center. Because we have done it before, so it's a matter of continuation of a cycle that existed in the past. So there's no ambiguity, there's no surprise that we are able to do that. We are just continuing what we were before. We come into devotional service, we are being given instructions, and then we chant, we engage in sadhana, we associate with devotees, but then even though such things happen, it is not intense enough because there is no gratitude involved in accepting what has been given. The lack of gratitude is directly connected to a lack of perception of what has been given. Right. Remember this, you take a very precious stone and you go to a washerman. And he thinks this precious stone, he doesn't realize that, it's a diamond in the rough. He says, oh, I can use it for washing purposes. Because his perception is, I am doing this activity, this stone is useful for that. You take it to a cobbler and you give him a precious stone which is rough, but then it is not well cut, it's not understood, and he thinks he can use it to repair shoes. Only someone who is trained in looking at what it is and who can appreciate the value of what's been given recognizes that this is a diamond in the rough. It has to be cared for. It is extremely precious and I should take care of it. And this requires sincerity. In the devotee community, there's a big challenge in being sincere. And what is sincere? Sincere necessarily doesn't mean you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Sincere doesn't mean devotional attire. Sincere doesn't mean that we are present here and there, which is all wonderful. These are all steps in the right direction. Sincere essentially means that what is inside and what is outside are the same. That is sincere. What is inside and what is outside are one and the same. They are aligned. If that alignment is missing, we start lying to ourselves and lying to Krishna. The external behavior is just a facade, and internally there are all kinds of aspirations. Externally we engage in activity, devotional activity. Internally there's all kinds of aspirations which are going on, which is dangerous. So this lack of sincerity is a huge stumbling block for devotees, because they simply cannot appreciate what has been given, because they have not really started desiring the right fruit. So we remember the story where there was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and he used to worship Lord Shiva diligently on a daily basis, and he really was such a sincere person that Lord Shiva became very pleased and he manifested himself before him, and he asked him, what kind of a gift would you like? What kind of a boon would you like? And this devotee, he was simple. At the same time, he did not know what to ask for. So he said, I simply do not know what I really need, but what do you think I really need, dear Lord? Because you know me better. I am your devotee. You give me what you think I really need. So Lord Shiva said, yes, I know a person who can give you something very, very precious. Something which is most precious. You should go and contact him, and he would be able to bestow this gift upon you. Right? He can give you the touchstone, Chintamani. Right? What is Chintamani? Chintamani is the mystical gem where you touch it and then you desire and everything manifests. He can give you that. He has it. So this man said, okay, thank you very much. He paid obeisances to Lord Shiva, and then he was given directions to meet Srila Sanatan Goswami in Vrindavan. So he goes all the way and he meets Sanatan Goswami, and then he approaches Sanatan Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami and Lord Shiva have great affinity towards each other. They are very connected, they are very devoted, right? So Sanatan Goswami basically tells him that, yes, how can I serve you? And then this devotee tells Sanatan Goswami that, my dear Lord, Shiva has sent me here and he has directed me to you, and he has said that you can give me a touchstone, you can give me a Chintamani. And Sanatan Goswami said, yes, absolutely, you're right. Okay, you're absolutely right. I can give you the touchstone. So the touchstone, he says, just wait a minute, I'll get you the touchstone. So he goes to the backyard, he goes to the garbage dump, and he picks up the touchstone, and he brings it and he gives it to the devotee. So the devotee is completely amazed, right? On my way to the work for the last week, I go through Plainfield. Plainfield, they are doing a bulk pickup. You understand? Right? They're picking up all the garbage, whatever you don't want in the house, you can keep it out on the footpath. They're picking it up. So as I was driving through Plainfield, I was just looking at this. There was this massive television set, 45 inches. And it was on the curb. Someone had taken the television set which they had, which was pretty good, from probably 5 years old or whatever. It looked decent and it was out on the curb. They didn't want it. Then you wonder what is it which is inside, which is like, this fellow has thrown this outside, and then you have something inside which is supposed to be even better than this 45-inch or 50-inch television set. So in a similar fashion, Sanatan Goswami went and then he got this gem and he gave it to this devotee, and the devotee started wondering, this is in the garbage and this is Chintamani. It can grant me anything. What is it which he has which is even more precious than this? Because he's sincere, he is able to think. Any other person would have been distracted because they got Chintamani. But since he is sincere, the inside and the outside are one and the same. There is no duplicity. Duplicity essentially means that there is no material desire which is within, and externally there is an aspiration for spirituality. Inside and outside is sincere. So such a person can be corrected. Can you imagine this? There's always a saying that you can wake up someone who is sleeping. You can never wake up someone who is pretending to sleep. Right? Someone who is pretending to sleep is inside. He has his own plans. He's pretending. Externally, he has shut his eyes. You can never wake up such a person. Very challenging. On the other hand, you can wake up someone who is sincere because he has no material desires. He is sleeping. He is sincere. He says, yes, I am dull. I am sleeping. Wake me up. Such a person can be woken up. He can be made to do a lot of things. It's very difficult to wake up someone who is pretending because he is pretending. Right? So this person inside and outside was one and the same. No duplicity. Right? And this duplicity and the lack of duplicity allowed him to ask this question. This thought doesn't come unless that consciousness is available. The lack of duplicity produces a certain kind of consciousness which is singular, which is focused. It is not divergent. Duplicitous consciousness is where you are thinking inside one thing and externally there's something else. Lack of duplicity is you have a single focus and it produces a wonderful laser-like focused consciousness. So he immediately took the touchstone, he was walking away, he stopped midway, turned around and then came back and asked Srila Sanatan Goswami. The question he asked him was, he said, you gave me this, but you have this in the garbage dump. What is it which you have which is even more precious? Do you have anything more precious than this? He was curious. Sanatan Goswami said, yes, I have something even more precious than this, unequivocally precious. But are you interested in that? Be sincere. Are you interested in that? Do you see a value? Right? Look at the perception of value. Unless you perceive that something is valuable, you would not be able to focus on it. Right? And as simple as it, you will not have the sincerity for you to be able to pursue it. So Sanatan Goswami said, if you really desire what I have, which is 1,000,000 times, 1,000,000,000,000 times better than what I have given you, There is one rule. Throw this stone into the river and then come back, and I will give you that precious stone, whatever is precious. So this devotee, since he was so sincere, he threw that precious Chintamani gem into the river, and he came back to Sanatan Goswami, and Sanatan Goswami initiates him with the mantra. He receives the Harinam Diksha from the Acharya himself. So this is such a fascinating account that if we are sincere, this intelligence is being provided by the super soul from within. The sincerity is such that, he is sincerely seeking, let me show the way. This is the way you go. This is where you would get it. This is what you need to accomplish. This direction is being provided by the super soul, and there is absolutely no problem for such devotees. Simple devotees make progress, right? Krishna makes a statement here in the following verses. He says, those who are envious will not follow my instructions. Why does envy come about? What is envy? Envy is a form of jealousy. It is not jealousy. There is a big difference between envy and jealousy. Envy is a situation where we want things for ourselves which other people have, but at the same time, we want such a thing to be taken away from the other person. Someone has something wonderful. We are desiring that wonderful thing, but we are also saying that should be taken away from the other person and given to us. Someone has a car. I need that car. I want to drive a Mercedes or a BMW, whatever the case may be. But then the other person who is driving it, he should have an accident. This is envy. Jealousy is, it is okay if the other person is driving something wonderful. I want to drive the same. So there's a big distinction. Krishna says those who are envious, right, will not follow my instructions. And envy is directly connected to duplicity. Duplicity means having multiple personalities, having internal desires which are duplicitous, which are materialistic, and externally posing spiritually and trying to say that these are spiritual desires. This is duplicity. And these duplicity fundamentally would lead to envy. Because this is enviousness. This enviousness comes about, for instance, that if they have a material desire, it is going to manifest itself. Person becomes envious. So duplicity is the cornerstone, is the foundation of envy. So Krishna says, since the person is not sincere, he is envious, and he is envious of me. And people are envious of Krishna, right? Especially in India. How many times have we questioned in our life? Go back and ask yourself, why is it that Krishna needs a big temple? Prabhu, what is the point? Why do we need to build a huge temple for Krishna, millions of dollars? Why can't Krishna just be under a tree? Is there any difference? We can use that money for a better purpose. Like you have figured out all the better purposes in your life. I find it quite ridiculous when people say that we can use the money for a better purpose. Right? The entire world and the best economists have just ruined the economy, left, right, and center after all the education. But we still have people saying we could find some better purpose. They haven't figured it out. We all come from the same university, same education. How can there be a better purpose than what has already been given to us? Everything is practically broken down by these best minds. Everybody said, I'm going to be rewriting all the laws and the theories that they have come out with. It's ruined. But anyways, they have a better purpose for money. Why don't we do that? This is enviousness. Right? If we want to build a house, are we ready to live under a tree? We will not want to live under a tree, but Krishna should live under a tree. What a ridiculous proposition is this? Krishna should live under a tree because we are not sincere. We do not have a perception that the deity form of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. Similarly, the spiritual master comes, right? Big Vyasasan. Someone is sitting on a huge asan. We are sitting somewhat at a different kind of position. Immediately there's envy. Why does he need such a big asan? Why can't he sit on the ground with us? Prabhupada sometimes used to do this. He used to say, The reporter asked him, I was looking at one Prabhupada TV interview yesterday, and the reporter was asking Srila Prabhupada that why don't you sit there? And that seems to be a big asan. He said, I'm not sitting there because you're envious. He just straightforward, he just on the face in the TV interview, I'm not sitting there because you're all envious. So the questions are being asked, why Srila Prabhupada, you seem to be a spiritualist, why are you riding around in a Rolls Royce? Why not? I am representing Krishna. I am representing the Supreme Lord. I can ride around in a Rolls Royce. People are providing. My disciples want to glorify the spiritual master. They will provide a Rolls Royce. They will provide a palace. I would sit on it. What's your problem? Enviousness. This is enviousness. Right? And Srila Prabhupada fundamentally used to be very direct on this aspect because this is a very, very common characteristic, this enviousness. Right? Can't you see this? It constantly happens in corporations. Someone is in a position, so you always have a group of people trying to pull them down. Enviousness. Similarly, you have it in politics. Okay, one party is in power, you have the rest of the other parties not cooperating with them, waiting for their turn to serve because they are not sincere. They do not want to serve. They want to usurp power so that they could manipulate and control others. So they constantly try to de-seat the fellow who is in power. And that fellow, he practically accomplished nothing because the entire support structure is weak because everyone is trying to pull his feet. This is happening in the US today. They can do nothing. Obama cannot do anything because the Congress is fundamentally not allowing him to move forward. Practically every step the president takes is being opposed by the Congress. They may have their views, but the fact is that there's a lot of enviousness. You have sat there. What if you do something wonderful and you get re-elected again? So I will stop you. Enviousness. Politicians, this is enviousness because this is typical. It's a very mundane quality. And we extend it and we bring it into devotional service as well because we come from that particular world. Right? We come from that particular world. We come with such qualities and we enter into devotional consciousness and we continue it. So when we come here, we express enviousness towards Krishna. We express enviousness towards the spiritual master. We express enviousness towards the devotees. And in such situations, this envy is nothing but a manifestation of our material desires. This envy is nothing but duplicity. It's a foundation. And how do you wake up a person who is pretending to sleep? How do you wake up someone who is pretending to sleep? You can wake up someone who is sleeping. So that's the specific challenge we have. So devotees, when we are trying to engage in Karma Yoga, this is a huge challenge because what is inside and what is outside are two different things. We aspire for something wonderful. We have all kinds of desires to enjoy in this world. Right? It's going on inside. It's being repressed. It's being represented. But externally, we are posing. And as a result of which, what happens is all our decision making is completely flawed because it is going to be based on the internal desires. Right? What is it which has brought us to whatever state we are in today? The past desires. We desired in the past and the present was created. Let's not be in denial. The past driven the future and we are here today because we desired this. So imagine that today you continue desiring things internally which are diametrically opposite or not aligned by keeping Krishna in the center. And what is going to be the result? The result is going to be the same of what we have been experiencing. How can things be completely different if our habits are the same as it was the previous year? Tell me. How can anything change unless things have, everything else changes? If we keep continuing to think the same way, act the same way as we did in the previous years, how do we expect something wonderful to happen just like that, by magic? It's not going to happen. So there has to be an active process of desiring, an active process of planning, an active process taking into consideration that our goal, never forget this, our goal is to align ourselves with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement 100%. Everything else is a support structure, is secondary to it. And until such time we align ourselves, we will be taking decisions based on our duplicitous nature, our material nature, which is a part of our consciousness. Every time a decision is being processed, be it for a professional decision, be it personal, be it relationship, be it anything, it is being processed through a cobweb of internal material duplicitous desires. And what is going to manifest? It is going to manifest more of the same challenges, which means Krishna being in the center would become even more challenging. Why is it that life should be so complicated? Amazing. We complicated life, and we have complicated life because we have desired it. However, we desire to keep Krishna in the center and constantly desire Krishna in the center, then our entire thought process shifts. And when you start shifting your thought process, intelligence is being provided by the Lord from within on how to keep him further and further in the center. Right? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. 10:10. This is in 10th chapter. Krishna says this. He says, for those who serve me with loving devotion, I will provide the intelligence so that they may be able to come to me. So automatically, when you start desiring to keep Krishna in the center and stop this nonsensical duplicity of wanting something other than Krishna, because it keeps happening. The reason why I'm using strong words is I'm actually preaching to the mind, my mind and your mind as well. I'm just using strong words, preaching to my mind and your mind, saying, keep Lord Chaitanya in the center and take decisions. Please, please do not take personal decisions independent of keeping Lord Chaitanya in the center. Preach to your minds at all times. Because not keeping Lord Chaitanya in the center is danger. It is grave danger. Keep him in the center and every decision would be perfect, because he will guide us on what is best for his pleasure, and that is most appropriate for our existence in any aspect of life. We constantly practice this by desiring the right things. So what we do is that, we have, what do you call it? You can have several tools to do this. Okay? The passwords at your workplace could be set appropriately to remind you whenever you log in into your workspace, and you probably do it 10 times a day, 15 times a day, because I do it. Every time you step away, it locks you out and you have to come and log in, right? You put a password which is connected to this kind of a situation of keeping Lord Chaitanya in the center. I'm just giving you a suggestion. Similarly, you can keep a little note and stick it on the bathroom mirror. So we spend time before the mirror, we brush our teeth, we shave up and all that. So I don't. You all do. But you're spending time in front of the mirror, and it allows you to see, obviously, that you're reminding yourself right in the morning when you wake up and you're going into the bathroom, you have something stuck there, which is telling you, desire this. Okay? I'm telling you, these are very powerful techniques. Even though it might sound very simple, these are very powerful suggestive techniques which are going into the mind, where you keep dropping notes here and there, which remind you of the most important thing. You don't even have to get into the details. Constantly remind yourself that I want to keep Lord Chaitanya in the center. Just make a prayer in your heart that I'm taking a decision, dear Lord, how can I keep you in the center? Please guide me. Please be in the center. Let this decision be beneficial for me to be able to serve you, for me to be able to read better, for me to be able to chant better, for me to associate and serve better. Let me desire this actively. It's actually a very, very easy proposition to do, because now we are working towards it. You see, I remember several years ago when I was practicing for some exams, they used to give me flashcards, right? They have this concept of flashcards. So all the important concepts, are put in the form of one-liners or two-liners, and you have flashcards. And it keeps kind of, when you travel, when you're riding, you just pick up one of these flashcards, and then you kind of jog your memory, and then you take that particular concept and you churn it in your mind so that you refresh it. You do it a few times, and automatically it registers itself more. So that's the purpose of it. So in a similar fashion, you could have such flashcards dropped in certain strategic locations around you. Maybe one on the dashboard, one in the car, one in the office, one at home, one in the bathroom, so on and so forth, which remind you of this objective. Constantly there has to be a meditation, and there has to be a constant reminder, without which it's not going to work. You have to constantly drag yourself. Okay, if you're going to be bothered by something, like something is happening, there is a shift in your home, there's some kind of a shift in your profession, drag your mind and immediately say that, okay, whatever it is, I have to ensure that I can keep Lord Chaitanya in the center. If you can do that, then you're okay. Because automatically what happens, and the priorities are shifting. Automatically the priorities are shifting. So you need to be able to remind yourself in several ways. You can do that actively by keeping Krishna in the center. So this is extremely critical, because he says people who are envious forget me. Envy is a product of a duplicitous nature. Duplicity occurs because of a lack of sincerity. Right? So that's what it is. So we constantly try and say that, okay, what is my objective? Why am I going into devotional service? Why am I wearing devotional clothes? Why am I participating in seva? Am I participating for recognition? Am I participating for pleasing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, pleasing Guru? What am I doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Question yourself. Because this is where duplicity lies. It makes us do things inadvertently for aspects which really are inconsequential. You have to question yourself. Why am I doing what am I doing? You could be serving, you could be cooking for the deities, but then are you really cooking for the deities? Or do you have some other agenda, some other plan going on in the mind? Question yourself. You should ask these questions. Uncomfortable, painful questions. Put yourself in the spot. Put yourself in the spot. Uncomfortable questions have to be asked. Okay? Do not allow your mind to rest. Constantly agitate the mind in these situations. Find out, am I sincere? Am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I really chanting? Am I really serving to please Krishna? Or am I doing it for some other purpose, some mundane aspect of mine where I believe it's cool? Who knows? Right? You can make out, sometimes you want to do deity worship, someone is in the deity worship, someone is in the altar, you have an entire hall of 300 people watching you. Then the person becomes an artist. As opposed to a devotee who is serving the deity, he becomes an artist, or she becomes an artist. So you have to question yourself. What am I doing here? Why am I standing? Because the mind is so devious. And we have been in touch with matter. We are in touch with matter. This is the material world. You have to question yourself. Why am I standing here? Am I standing here to actually receive recognition? Do I want to be on stage? And the mind will tell you yes. You want to be on stage. It will tell you the truth sometimes. This is what it is. You want to be on stage, that's why you are here. You're not here to serve Guru and Gauranga. You are here because you want to be right in the center where everybody can see you and you are a celebrity. Fame, name, recognition. We have to check ourselves right at the spot. Spit at those thoughts. And then start again, offering sincere arati. See, this is a disease. Let's understand this. Everyone is diseased. And we are trying to get rid of the disease. It requires work. So we have to question ourselves. It takes work. Question ourselves in the mind constantly. Why am I doing this? Because the more and more sincere we become, the easier it is to execute Krishna consciousness. That's the beauty of it. The beauty is that the more and more sincere we become, The process of Krishna consciousness is extremely simple. It's very easy to chant, very easy to stay aligned. Trust me. Very, very easy. The more sincere we become, easier it is. The more we want other things other than pleasing Krishna, the more difficult and challenging Krishna consciousness becomes. The more difficult it becomes to wake up, more difficult it becomes to communicate, to associate with everyone. And this duplicity extends. And watch yourselves very carefully too. When you want to talk to devotees, ensure that you talk sincerely. Watch yourself, watch what happens during the day. These are internal dialogues. Watch the dialogue that's occurring inside. What is the dialogue? Externally, we are posing as something. Internally, what is the dialogue that is occurring? Look at that, and you will be shocked. 99.9% of the time, what's going on inside and what's going on outside is not the same. So this alignment has to happen. That's what is called purity. What is purity? Purity is where internal and external is aligned. It's one person. That is purity. Keep going, keep going. That is exactly the process of purification. Keep checking this mind. Okay? Keep checking the mind in this activity. Show your displeasure constantly. See, the beauty is this. We are not the mind. We are not the mind. We are not the intelligence. We are controllers of the mind and intelligence. We are controllers of the mind and intelligence. Every class, before I begin every class, I chant prayers to Lord Aniruddha. Hrishikesha Indriyatmane. Right? Nama Paramahamsaya, Hrishikesha Indriyatmane. Right? Namo Namo Aniruddhaya, Hrishikesha Indriyatmane. Right? Why do I chant those prayers? He is the controller of the mind. He is specifically the controller of the mind. If you sincerely chant those prayers from the Bhagavatam, see, this is beautiful because the Prachetas, who are sons of King Prachinabari, who was the emperor of the entire planet, and the Prachetas decided that they wanted to renounce. But then he requested them saying that no, do not renounce because the world, this planet requires proper rulership. It requires proper Kshatriyas. So the Prachetas were requested by the father Prachinabari saying, get married and take over the kingdom after me and manage it for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So the moment he said get married, which is, what does it mean? The moment he said perform Karma Yoga, right? Immediately they said, I have to do sadhana. The moment he said perform Karma Yoga, immediately they said, I have to do sadhana. Because unless I can purify myself, unless I can align myself, I would not be able to manage this. It would be distracting. They knew it. What is the fourth chapter? Transcendental knowledge. What is the fifth chapter? Action in Krishna consciousness. The Prachetas knew that the third chapter of Karma Yoga, if it is not mastered properly, I can have problems in the fourth and the fifth chapter that cannot be action in Krishna consciousness because I will become a king, I will have a wife, many wives those days, children, so on and so forth, and in activities that I am engaging in such circles can be a distraction and I may not be able to perform my action in Krishna consciousness, which, comes after transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge could get obscured if there are insincere desires. They knew that because they were very sincere. They were very sincere. The moment the father said get married, they said I have to do sadhana. How many of us do that? The father said get married and they're saying let me do sadhana because that's required to get married. Because they know the peril of engaging in Karma Yoga without having a strong basis. So they go away and on the way Lord Shiva meets them. See, Shiva is Dharma Vatsala. Dharma Vatsala essentially means that Varnashrama Dharma, maintaining Varnashrama Dharma is his responsibility. He is Dharma Vatsala. It is his responsibility and whenever he sees that there is some very sincere soul proceeding towards Krishna and they want to serve the Supreme Lord wonderfully, immediately he becomes a guru and he appears before them because he is guru. He is the supreme guru. He is the spiritual master of the whole world. He appears. So he appeared and then he offered these prayers. He said, oh, you are seeking surrender. You are seeking the Supreme Lord. Here are the prayers that you have to chant. So he offered prayers to Lord Aniruddha and he initiated them in those prayers. And these prayers are specifically targeting the ability to control the mind of the sadhaka so that the mind of the sadhaka can be controlled and direction from within can be gotten from Lord Aniruddha himself. He is the director of the mind. So that's the reason why specifically I chant these prayers before every class. Some of us who have taken up these prayers sincerely on a daily basis, even before chanting their Mahamantra, they chant and meditate and beg for mercy from Lord Aniruddha, they have seen huge shifts in their consciousness while being able to serve. Because he, in the next verse, what do we say? Swarga apavarga dwaraya. Swarga apavarga dwaraya is that you are, Lord Aniruddha, you are opening the doors, Swarga apavarga dwaraya, to ascend. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Nityam suchi sade namaha. Nityam, eternally. Suchi, what is suchi? Pure. Sade namaha. You reside in the pure heart, directing the activities of the souls. So someone who is sincere has the ability to be directed by Lord Aniruddha himself. These prayers are very potent prayers. Very potent prayers. They make a very big difference in being able to control the fickle mind and the mind's constant vacillation between going from one place to the other. So my advice to you would be that if you are having challenges of this kind, pull your mind at all times and then offer prayers to Lord Aniruddha, begging him for mercy so that we might be able to keep the mission of Lord Chaitanya constantly in the center. You can find it on my blog. There's an article which is written there. Right? So it's so important for us. So this is sincerity, right? So let us just read a few verses and then I will, because tomorrow is a working day, so I'll end soon. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadmatma chetasha nirasya nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. So again, Krishna is reiterating so many aspects of this. He's saying, surrender all your works unto me. Keep me in the center. Surrender all your works unto me. All. He is not just saying deity worship. He is not saying chanting. He's saying all. He's saying practically all your works unto me. And he's also saying with full knowledge of me. Understanding what I would desire. Now, it's very important. Now, who is manifested as Krishna in our lives? Spiritual master. Guru is Sakshat Hari. Guru who is within, Sakshat Hari who is within, manifests himself as a spiritual master because we do not have the capacity to serve Krishna directly. The spiritual master comes and takes his place because he comes in a physical form, he comes in a human form, he receives service from us, allows us to make progress. Right? So Krishna says here very clearly, what is he saying? Without desires for profit, with full knowledge of me. Full knowledge, what does it mean? It means know what I want, know what I need. Pay attention. When Jaya and Vijaya, the gatekeepers in Vaikuntha, when they offended the Kumara brothers, right? Lord Narayana stepped out. He did not even come with Lakshmi Devi. It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that he even forgot to wear his footwear. He comes out in a hurry because his devotees are being offended, and he comes there, and the first statement that he makes to the Kumaras is that they have forgotten me. They offended you because they forgot me. So, what is it which is being said here? It is being said here that the most important aspect is for us to be able to remember and constantly think of what is the desire of the spiritual master. Guru Maharaj asks for water, but I am giving him milk. He is asking for water, why don't you give him water? No, Guru Maharaj, I know you asked for water, but I have milk. Milk is better than water. I asked for water, right? No, I have milk. Milk is better. He is asking for something, you provide that. That's your business. Pay attention to the needs. That's why first prayer that we chant. What do we chant? Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilite Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. He lifts the ignorance from our hearts. What is the next prayer? Right? What is the next prayer? Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam. What is the importance of that prayer? What is the importance of that prayer? So Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami is being glorified because he knew the heart of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is specifically the role of a disciple. The role of a disciple is to know the heart of the spiritual master and act accordingly. This is the role of a disciple. So Krishna is saying here, full knowledge of me, understand what I need and act according to that, not based on our own whims and fancy. And how do we know what Krishna needs? Sadhu, Guru, Shastra. 3 references. Not speculation. What Krishna needs? Sadhu, Guru, Shastra. Very simple. Krishna consciousness is so uncomplicated. Be complicated. Right? So let's go into verse 31. Emam matam idam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto nashuyanto mucyantate pi karmabhihi. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. See, Krishna is making a promise. He is making a statement here. What else do we need? Right? He's saying here that if you faithfully execute the instructions and you follow my instructions faithfully without envy and you become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. What is the bondage of fruitive actions? Fruitive actions is when Krishna is not in the center, there's something else in the center. So the bondage of fruitive action is where we slowly, surely, steadily bring Krishna into the center, and automatically the bondage is being severed. Krishna is making it very clear that if you do it sincerely, I would be able to free you from the bondage of fruitive actions. Free us from this body so that we would be able to go back. Krishna is making that promise right here. Verse 32. Etva etad abhyashuyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudam stan vidhi nashtan achetashah. But those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So pay attention to this. This is very, very strong language by Krishna. Bereft, befooled, ruined. This is where we, out of envy. And what is the meaning of envy here? What is envy? Envy is, Krishna, you are not God. I am God. That's envy. I want to be a controller. If we really believe and have faith that Krishna is God, why would we have challenges in accepting His instructions? Tell me. Would we, many of us are working, how many times would you like to flaunt your boss's instructions? The rules of your company. How many times would you like to flaunt that? Tell me. How many times would you like to go against what your boss is asking you to do and hope to survive for a long time? The reason why we don't do that is because we know what the effects are. But since Krishna is in the deity form, right, and we are faithless, we do not have a faith which is strong, we do not even believe Krishna exists, and His instructions are not taken up seriously. Otherwise, why would we have a challenge in taking up His instructions? Think about it. What is the primary challenge in taking up instructions which are being given? Lack of faith. Lack of faith in the existence of God. Does Krishna exist? Is He God? If that faith were to be present, why would there be a challenge in taking on instructions? A devotee asked Srila Prabhupada. He said, Srila Prabhupada, how soon can one go back to Godhead? And Srila Prabhupada said, now. And everyone looked at him saying, now? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, now. You can go back to Godhead right now if you have faith in my instructions. Since you do not have faith in my instructions, you do not believe what I have written in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam fully, you are having problems in accepting my instructions. Otherwise, how can this mind confuse us? How can this useless mind tell us that you can sleep further? How can this useless mind tell us that you are still young, you still have time, you can chant after a few more years? The mind, who is this mind? It's matter. How can the mind be in control if we truly believe that Krishna exists and if we truly believe in the instructions of Srila Prabhupada? We do not have full faith, which is a problem. And as a result of which, we do not take on these instructions. And what is this called? This is called enviousness towards God. We do not believe Krishna exists, or rather, we do not want Him to exist, in one sense, indirectly. It's a dangerous attitude. That's the reason why, again and again, 3 verses in a line, Krishna is talking about envy. Krishna will not waste his time. Do not ever think that he can speak anything in the Bhagavad Gita frivolously. He knows. He says, those who without envy. What is enviousness? Oh, maybe he is there, maybe he is not there. And second is, many of us do not want God because we are afraid that He is watching us. He's afraid. We are afraid that He is watching us at every given time. That's a challenge. Many of us do not want that. So there are so many little obstacles that the mind is creating, and all we have to do is just follow instructions. That's the reason why we say very clearly, Adau Shraddha. Everything begins with Shraddha. Have faith. Adau Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sango. Then you perform Bhajana Kriya in the association of devotees. Then we would be able to kick out all the anarthas from our heart. And then fixed becomes our consciousness. So it starts with Adau Shraddha. So that's why Krishna is using such language here very carefully. And Prabhupada has used it very directly. He is not mincing words when he is saying this. He says, those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. There are many translations of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bhagavad Gita. Why were there so many translations? And many of those translations even kept Krishna out of the picture. Enviousness. Krishna, you step out. Oh, Bhagavad Gita is not about Krishna. They wrote, there are translations by very authorized personalities, so-called authorized personalities, okay, who are men in position, who are just envious of Krishna, where they wrote their Bhagavad Gita and they instructed the public in translations that, this is not about Krishna, this is about something else altogether. This is enviousness. So Krishna is making a very clear statement that you are envious, you are faithless. Unless you give up all these activities, you will not be able to understand my instructions. Prabhupada was very clear. Take on my instructions and you will be able to do so. Since you don't have full faith, you cannot do so. Alright, we'll stop right here. This is verse 32. We'll continue with 33 from the next week. Srila Prabhupada ki. Any questions? We can probably take one or two questions till the prasadam gets served. They have not even offered bhoga yet, so yes. Can you repeat your question again? Yes. Immensely. Because there were experiments, not just of the Mahamantra, there were experiments, scientific experiments, which were showing the effect of a certain kind of music, a certain kind of vibration on the growth of plants. So they kept some I've seen this. Have you ever seen those slides? In the earlier Bhakta Vrikshas, I've shown you slides where they examined a water crystal under a very powerful microscope while, all kinds of negative thoughts were sent out and negativity was spoken out. There were some very harsh, aggressive actions done around a pot of water. And then they took a sample of water and then they put it under the microscope and the entire structure of the water molecule was completely disturbed. Completely disturbed. It was completely distorted. And then they also had a comparison where they took a pot of water and there was a priest who was chanting from the books, the scriptures. And the structure of the water molecule was so beautiful, it was so symmetric, that it was just amazing the difference between the two. So sound vibrations do cause a tremendous impact on the environment. Now consider this. Any human being, any animal, any plant, okay, human beings for instance, 70% of our body is water. Can you imagine the effect the Mahamantra can have on even the physical aspects of our existence because of the potency of the names? Because 70% of our existence, body is water. So is the case with an animal. In addition to that, it is consciousness. The soul within is the same, whether it is in the body of a human being or an animal. The covering is different. In the case of an animal, the soul is covered to such an extent that the animal is overpowered by the conditioning and the animal can think of nothing but the fact that it's a body, this body. But the soul from within can hear the mantra and it can surely make progress. Yes. See, when Lord Chaitanya was walking through the forest of Jarikanda, there's a place called Jarikanda in India, and he was chanting the holy names. And he was chanting the holy names, and his chanting, the pure chanting of Lord Chaitanya, you can imagine how he was chanting. And there are pictures of it, if you notice, if you type up, you can see where the animals are also dancing with him in kirtan. And this was observed by his servant. So the animals can be transformed as well. There was also a particular story of a dog in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the dog of Shivananda Sen, which gets liberated because it accepts, Mahaprasad from Lord Chaitanya. And he makes a statement. So being a dog of a pure Vaishnava is also an extremely wonderful proposition. Right? What to say of being able to serve them actively? Anything else? Okay, we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki